There is a legitimate psychological affinity to a 4-year cycle where we grow, coast, and decay. When you apply that to your business and its refinement and its ability to be a perennial growth entity over time, you find how truly powerful this is and how important it is to understand this dynamic. Let's jump in.
This is The Rare Advisor, proud to be a part of the Advisor Advancement Network and home of a business model supercharged by recurring and repeatable events. Your host is Mike Walters, CEO of USA Financial. He is an investment advisor representative of and securities are offered through USA Financial Securities, member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor.
One of my father's favorite sayings has always been, if you're not growing, you're dying. And obviously that's an accurate statement to a certain degree, but what I've learned over time is that I think there's a way to tweak it and make it even more applicable, because we tend to go through these phases where, whether it's our personal life or it's our business life, we're in a growth phase, we're in a coast phase, and hopefully we don't slip into it, but there could be a decay phase. So I would adjust that saying from my dad to grow, coast, decay. And the reason I bring that up today is because I want to talk to you about this odd affinity, psychologically or otherwise, that we have to a 4-year cycle of time. There's something that just kind of fits when it comes to 4-year periods of time. It's like baby bear, mama bear, papa bear, right? 5 years is too long, 3 years isn't long enough, but 4 years is just right. And what I would say is if you look at your business, you will probably find that there is a significant change that takes place every 4 years. And again, if you look back a year or two, you don't see those changes. You'll see adjustments, you'll see tweaks. But if you look back 4 years, you seem to kind of have a true period of refinement. For us at USA Financial, going all the way back to the year 2000 through up now, right now, 2023, we basically double our aggregate revenue every 4 years. So basically double the size of the company every 4 years. So it's a very significant cycle for us. And like I said a moment ago, I would argue that business refinement occurs very significantly. Now, it's occurring all the time. Don't get me wrong. It's like a stream or a river that's just constantly flowing. But when you look back through the rearview mirror, there is something special about that 4-year period. And I would also argue that if you take 2 4-year periods and stack them together, now you're not looking at refinement. You're looking at redefinement. And I think that's why presidential elections for the 4 years and then being able to run for a second 4 years, why that's such a significant period of time, that combined 4 plus 4 for a total of 8. And then, excuse me, and on top of that, you've got big world events taking place, Olympics, World Cups that happen every 4 years. Obviously, leap years are every 4 years. And then in our personal lives, schooling kind of comes in 4-year chunks, at least important pieces of it, high school, college, and so on. So there is this 4-year cycle that takes place. Now, the reason I wanted to get into that today is because when you look at the year 2020, we as an entire country, as an entire world, were kind of forced into a trigger point of starting or putting a line in the sand on a new 4-year period of time. In 2020, when the lockdowns happened in February, at that point in time, life changed in a whole bunch of different ways. And many of us were really wondering where this was going to go. Businesses were struggling. The stock market was plummeting. Economically, everyone was concerned, not to mention the health concerns on top of that. And then towards the end of 2020 and into 2021, what happened is we saw this revolution, if you will, in terms of how people were communicating. So video communication, it's not that it didn't exist prior to that, but it wasn't in high demand usage. In other words, you weren't going to get a lot of parents and grandparents to use video interaction on a regular basis. They got locked down. They wanted to stay in touch with friends and family and kids and grandkids, and they forced themselves to learn how to do this. If it wasn't for the pandemic, it would have taken us another decade or two to get to the point where we are today on video conferencing. And yet now we're there, and now we've got the business opportunity that will exist forever thanks to getting us there in rapid order. And so what happened was we got locked down, we got secluded, but then we reached back out with video. And it became the new face-to-face for us in our financial practices. Dealing with reviews, dealing with appointments, and so on and so forth. And then when we rolled into 2022 and the market came roaring back and assets under management were just leaping forward and you were getting better at running appointments online, things were kind of pretty easy, quite honestly. A lot of people grew when they didn't even expect to. And so what happened was you got this weird meeting of the convergence between growing and coasting. That convergence kind of came together, and what's happening is many advisors are now kind of in this coast phase. They got lulled into it, not realizing they had shifted out of growth and into coast. But now here we are in 2023. The market is much more volatile. Clients are very anxious. Many advisors are afraid to speak to them again. It's almost like a throwback to 08, 09. They're afraid to talk to the sick patients, and yet this is exactly when the doctoring needs to take place. And that has created a tremendous amount of opportunity for advisors who are doing things the right way. The advisors who are not coasting, but have shifted back into growth mode, are getting in front of people, either digitally or in person now, and are marrying those things together, kind of the old school face-to-face stuff, married together with technology to use them in tandem as a 1-2 punch. Those advisors are starting to bring on new clientele in a lot of pretty significant ways. And the flip side is, if those advisors are bringing on the new clientele, then there's a whole bunch of advisors losing those clientele. You want to make sure that you're on the right side of that coin, that you understand this 4-year cycle we've been in, and that you realize that you were in a coast mode potentially. You don't want to slip into decay, and you want to bring it back over here to growth. Good luck with that.
This information is for licensed financial professionals only and is not intended for use in soliciting sales from the public. The views expressed represent the opinions of the presenter or their featured guest, not necessarily those of USA Financial or its affiliated subsidiaries. Industry references are generic and not intended to represent actions or beliefs of any individual or entity. Content is only presented to illustrate general principles, beliefs, or ideas and should not be construed as legal or regulatory advice. Trademark and copyright protected. USA Financial and Affiliates.